Today, we're going to be exposing a lot about truck drivers and especially brokers and the way they think. We have David on the show today. Basically, he's a truck driver himself and he's a broker. So he's going to go into his tips and tricks and also expose all the bad. So, mother truckers, definitely check this out. Let's get into today's video. If you would like to be on the show, jump on mothertruckernews@gmail.com. Let's go.
Is there a percentage? Is there something that you feel as a truck driver, a broker shouldn't be able to take more of or less of, or is it extremely situational?
I would say, I'll be straight up with you. Our brokerage, our percentage, our target goal is 10%. We don't try to, make a lot of money on one load. We try to make steady money throughout the year.
Just exposing bad people all the time. I like to expose the good too, right? And I feel that you're fair just for the fact that you're a truck driver and you do the brokerage side, so you understand on both ends, right? And so you're not this guy that doesn't care and have unrealistic goals for a driver out there, right? Hey, what's up, bro?
What's up, Alex? How you doing?
Chilling, man. I've been up, but we were just messaging a little bit. How's your internet where you're at?
It's okay. I'm in the middle of New Mexico right now. I've been up all morning driving.
Man, I appreciate you, reaching out to me. I love to have everybody on the show, brother, because definitely we need some help, some transparency in this industry. And, you and I were talking on a side message, and we're just talking about how it's almost like playing the game. If you own your own trucking business, maybe you yourself can't run it, but maybe your wife, or you build a team, or your family, and you build a subsidiary of your own brokerage as well, so you could broker your own loads, right?
Yeah. And I think that's a lot of a misconception is, you have the brokers that don't know anything about running a trucking company, and you got, the truckers that don't know anything about the brokerage. And I think if we just are transparent, come together, it's going to even out the playing field, and everybody's going to learn everything. And right now, everybody's just at each other's heads, and we're not getting nowhere as an industry itself on either side, and we already have the government against us with all these regulations they're putting forth on our trucking side. And I feel like if brokers and truckers just come together, we have the power to change the industry. But as well as I do, we never actually all come together.
Yeah. It's one of those things where it's just like, that's the hard part about social media, right? Because I'm to blame for that too, because I've had people on the show where I almost know they're lying, but I don't want to expose that they're lying, and I just let them kind of talk themselves out of saying they make $1 gazillion a year, right? And just let people in the comments read what's really going on and educate themselves on it. But sometimes I think, honestly too, like social media is kind of dangerous too, because a lot of these people, they're always selling something. They seem to be some type of educators, right? And then at the very end, they're selling a course, or follow my page, and then I'm gonna try and sucker you in and have people ask me all the time, like, how much do you charge for apprenticeship? I was like, well, instead of asking that, just ask me what you need to know, and let me tell you.
Well, yeah, and that's what's good about your show, though. You show the good, the bad, the lies, the truths. And it's up to the people that watch your show to distinguish what is what. It's not up to you to guide them through and tell them how to run their company. And everybody's companies ran different. What it costs me to run per mile could be completely different than what it costs on somebody else to run per mile. And when it comes to the broker side, that's what dictates the lanes and the rate cost, is what it costs for different companies to run each lane.
Yeah, no, definitely. So, we'll get into this and we'll cut and chop this up, but I see you put your name Daybreak in Trucking, right?
Yep.
And so I just want to welcome Daybreak in Trucking to the show today. Mother truckers, we're talking a lot about transparency in the broker world and stuff. And Daybreak in Trucking reached out and said, "Hey, Alex, I'm a truck driver and I run my own brokerage." Is that correct?
Yeah, I work for a brokerage that are really good friends of mine. Yeah, I'm a broker and a driver and a trucking manager. I've done it all.
Gotcha. So you're the perfect person to talk to right here about that. How many years have you been driving, brother?
Probably about 8 or 9 years I've been driving. Probably been in the industry 10 years or so, in some way or fashion, whether I'm managing the trucks or hiring the drivers or finding the loads. I've been in it, 10, maybe 12 years.
Gotcha, gotcha. So, what's the first question that most people have as truck drivers? Since you're the, I would say the best of both worlds, right? Is there a percentage? Is there something that you feel as a truck driver, a broker shouldn't be able to take more of or less of, or is it extremely situational?
I would say it's situational. Now I got to play a even playing field because I am a broker, I am a trucker. It's not hard for us to know the rates suck. I mean, they're bad right now. But you also got to remember the brokers don't run your trucking company. They don't have a clue what it costs you to run per mile. They don't have a clue where you're going, what your circumstances are. When we post a load, we don't dictate that lane price. A lot of people think, oh, the brokers decide the price for that load. They decide what they pay the truckers. In a way, we do, but we don't. We have tools just on the broker side, just like the trucking side. They'll tell us what those lanes are paying. We're in competition with many other brokers as well on those same lanes. So we can't just go in there and say, oh, we're going to charge a customer $5 a mile and sell it for $2 a mile to a trucking company. I would say, I mean, I'll be straight up with you. Our brokerage, our percentage, our target goal is 10%. Um, we don't try to, make a lot of money on one load. We try to make steady money throughout the year. But saying that, if you as a trucker go and bid a load and are undercutting each other, don't expect the broker to do your job for you and say, oh, wait a second, you bid 2 grand and I bid 6 grand on that load. Let me go ahead and tell you that and keep that over 4 grand. They're either going to, being a bad broker, they're going to either keep that 4 grand to themselves or they're going to turn around and go back to the customer and say, hey, I know I bid 6 grand on this load, but I ended up selling it for, 2,500. And because our goal as a broker is to save the customer money as well.
Right, right. No, and I get that. So you would say a good rule of thumb is uh, a good broker would be somewhere around the 10% range.
So you can't really dictate on a good or bad. I don't know what the other broker's overhead is. I can only tell you that on our brokerage, when you do, it's just like trucking. When you add up the cost to find a customer, the cost of your office, the payroll, all that stuff, you come up with a number that you as a business owner are comfortable making, and comfortable giving to the truckers. And that's my number. I don't know, other brokers, may have $1 million office building they got to pay for, so 10% may not be enough for them.
Fair.
I can just speak on my behalf that 10% works for us.
No, gotcha, gotcha. And honestly, and this isn't, this, I mean, at the end of the day, this is good promotion for yourself as well. I mean, anybody that is willing to do good work, man, I want people to have them as a resource. You know what I mean? Because I'm gonna say this disclaimer: I don't make money off of any of this stuff, people. Like, if there's connections being made, I just hope that everyone wins. You know what I mean? Like that's just the truth about that. So I just want to put that disclaimer out there because I get that all the time. And every single person I have on the show, I always get at least 5 or 10 people saying, "Oh, they paid that mother trucker to be on the show," and I'm like, "No, the show is free, people. If
Well,
you
I'll
want to
send you a
jump."
bill. I'll send you a bill when I'm done, and I'll see how long it takes you to pay it.
Right. But no, I appreciate that. So on the transparency part, just like a truck driver, if you're driving a really nice 2022 389, then your cost per mile and what it costs for the truck and your business might be different, just like a broker that's running it out of his truck versus $1 million building with
Yeah,
employees.
yeah. I mean, there's so many different things. I mean, brokers, it's just like the trucking side. There's so many different things that dictate what that broker needs to make. I mean, you have good brokers, you have bad brokers. You got those brokers that, look at, I only have 5 loads to sell this week, and this is my paycheck I need at the end of the week. And then you have brokers that are invested in the industry, invested in always finding new customers that would rather make that money throughout the year instead of all on that one week. There's the rates. dictate the lanes, dictate where you're going. It's not just a standard, oh, I'm getting $3.50 a mile anywhere I run. If there's a lane going that's paying $2 a mile that's going to a $4.50 a mile place, the truckers know that, the brokers know that, and the customers know that. And one of the biggest things is that truckers don't see is, why is freight so cheap? Freight's so cheap because the truck drivers dictate the cost of it. It's not because the brokers do. And what a lot of people don't think is, let's use Atlanta to Miami, for example. If you have a truck driver that's trying to get home the weekend into Miami, is about to take a week off work, he may take that load to Miami for the cost of fuel, right? He may not care about making the money. He might just want to go home because he has a doctor's appointment or whatnot. Well, if you do that 3 or 4 times in a short period of time, that just dictated to the customer what that lane costs for. So if that guy's taking it for $700 to Miami, which I'd never do, but if that's what it was, and the customer's used to paying $700 for the last 3 or 4 weeks because there was 5 or 6 of those guys trying to get home for the weekend, a broker can't go back to the customer and say, hey, that lane should be paying $2,500. The customer say, wait a second, I've shipped all these products for $500 to $700. I'm just going to go find somebody else to take it, and somebody else will take it. There'll always be that person that is just wanting to get out of there. That had a truck broke down and he's tired of being there. That's what's dictating that lane. And when you do that, we have apps that we use on Truck Stop that'll actually tell us what that lane's paying in the past 30 days. And that's how a tool that we use to go and bid to customers. We'll look at how many trucks are in that area, empty, how many loads have been out of that area the past month, what that lane is paying, and we'll try to match that for when we bid to the customer. But I had an instance where there was the customers in South Carolina. They're shipping stuff to Massachusetts, and the guy was out sick, the shipping manager, and they had another guy in there, and he just told the company, oh, I'll pay $6,500 to ship these. It was like 900 miles. It was outrageous. Legal loads, legal weight, flatbed stuff. And they come back to me and say, hey, we want to do this cheaper. It's way too expensive. I had to explain to them, y'all have already set that lane. Y'all been doing this for 30 days at that price. You're going to have a lull of 3 months before you can talk a trucker into going there for, what it should be paying, $3 to $4 grand. You're not going to get that trucker in there for that, because they're seeing that load on that load board for $6,700, $6,500 for the past 30 days. No trucker in the right minds will say, I'm going to go take that same load that I've seen on load board from point A to point B for less money than it has been shipping,
No, I hear
so
you.
both ways.
One thing that's, on a lot of people's minds are, as far as what shippers are paying, because I have personal friends right now that are making more money than they've ever made. And of course, they all have direct customers, right? Yeah. And so my question to you is, a lot of people are under the impression that all of basically the lanes that the shippers are actually paying for, they're still paying the same amount of money or more because fuel prices are higher now. But why? I know we kind of talked about that right now, but why are the rates so dumped and low? Like, what happened there?
So what you have to understand is, when we're talking about big manufacturers, we're not talking about the mom and pops that ship one load a week. When we're talking about these big manufacturers that put out tons of loads, this product was already sold 6 to 8 months prior to this, prior to the fuel prices going up, prior to the trucking industry tanking. And I know we've been on a downhill slope for a while, but it's hard to convince a customer, especially a big company, hey, you sold this product for $10 when fuel prices were $2.80 a mile. Well, now fuel prices are $5 a mile. Now you don't have to sell this product for $15. That product's already sold. They're not going to want to lose money on that product for the past 6 to 8 months that they manufactured that, and it's just now being built and went on a truck. They're not going to want to lose that money. So it takes 6 to 8 months for when they call to give us a quote. Hey, what's the quote on, this lane? We're having a project come up on this lane. We'll give them that quote. That quote's not for next week. That quote's for 3 to 4 to 5 to 6 months away. So now they can look at their company and what they're making a product for and their cost, and they can add the shipping cost into it so they don't lose money on that product. And that's how that works. And a lot of people understand, just because fuel prices goes up, a broker can't just go to the customer and say, hey, this product that cost you $10 to make, Now it's, you don't have $15 into it with the cost of trucking. Now you're losing money. Those manufacturers will be out of business. They'll just hold off and wait for that trucker that will take it lower. That overhead is lower. And then you'll have a bunch of pissed off truckers that says, man, I can't run for $2.50 a mile. I know you can't. A lot of people can't, but there are some people that can. And those people that can, that are still taking that cheap freight, they'll move the industry along with those lower prices until everything catches up, and a lot of people don't understand that. It's not just like flip a switch and freight prices go up. That's not really how it works.
I got you. I got you. So, at the end of the day, really, from this conversation alone, regardless of what anyone dictates to you, do not take freight that you won't make a profit from, right? Do not
Yeah,
take cheap
yeah,
freight because that
yeah.
will
Look
dictate
at
the
your
rest for
company.
everyone else, right?
Yeah, know your company, know what it costs you for run a mile, know what percentage you want to make off your truck, and take that freight. And if you decide to take cheap freight, don't turn around and complain later. Like at the end of the day, you entered into an agreement with the broker for that price. Don't complain after. You were happy with the price when you took it, or you wouldn't have took it. There was some reason or factor out there that made you look that low with that broker. Whether it was getting home one time, whether it was I don't care about the money, I need to, get my truck fixed. I need a few days off. I need to, have stuff for my kids. There was some reason that made you take that load. Stick with that reason. Don't complain later. And if you don't know what the lanes are paying, and you don't know um what other trucks are getting paid, ask somebody. Like, we're all at manufacturer with other truck drivers. I've never asked a truck driver what they got paid for the load and then not tell me.
Right.
I've never asked a customer what they got
Right.
paid for what they paid for that load and they didn't tell me. Like, it's not a
Right.
big secret that brokers think that, oh, truck drivers don't know what we're bidding on. It's not a secret, guys. Like, what these loads are paying from other truck drivers from different manufacturers. If you don't, ask the shipping manager. He's going to tell you. It's not a big secret.
Right. And so at the end of the day, people, it's like, the ones that are really taking, and I know a lot of times truck drivers do that as well. They got to be home for a birthday. They make an emotional decision. So they say, you know what? At least it got me home and paid for my fuel, right? You hear that a lot. But what you're not realizing is, well, then the shipper's thinking, hey, I just got that lane taken for that price. Well, someone else is probably going to do it for that price. And then next thing it's a trickling down effect. So we really got to stop doing that, people, and, let's talk about some practices that, we hear a lot. And I'm sure it happens on both sides because, again, you being a truck driver and a brokerage as well, a broker as well is, you know, a lot of truckers always email me and say, Alex, look, they agreed to this. They gave me the rate con. We're good to go. And then an hour later, they say, hey, man, the shipper canceled the load. And then they start looking for another load. And then they see the same damn load on truck stop or something like that. Can you tell me, is that bad business practice, or is there something behind that, that is going on?
So there's several things behind it. I personally don't do that. If I book a load with somebody for that amount of money, that load's good. Now, the customer could cancel the load. That could happen, and the load could be canceled, and the broker could have never took that off the load board. That very well could happen. I get busy. I don't know if other brokers that are watching this could tell you, when you post a load on truck stop and it's a decent load, your phone will ring off the hook until you get that load down. So it could be possible to the guy they did cancel that load, or it could also be possible that there's several brokers working on that same load. You got to remember, these manufacturers a lot of times aren't exclusive to one broker. Sometimes they are, sometimes they're not, and they're just looking for the cheapest price. So they might put that out to 4 or 5 brokers, and you might book a load with a customer. The customer might come back and say, "Oh no," because his other broker said they could do it cheaper, and then that's the load you're seeing on the load board from that other broker, and you lost the load. Or it could be bad business practices, and I've had it happen to me on the trucker side with certain companies, that they'll play this game that, oh, we signed a rate con with you, but you're not actually on the load till you call the next morning to get dispatched. I hate companies like that, because all they're doing is leaving that load posted out there to see if another trucker will take it cheaper. And then you've been sitting there all day thinking you got a load the next morning. You call for dispatch, they tell you the load canceled just because they found it cheaper. But I would say in my experience, it's very rare it happens. A lot of times it's either maybe the shipment's not ready. Maybe the customer decided they couldn't pay that much. Maybe it was an emergency load. And those are all things that take into effect with rate prices and stuff is, even they may sell some loads for, $4 a mile because they have to be there on a certain date. Well, then truckers get pissed when they see the rates go down next week because it's not a hurry to get them loads shipped, and so they may pay less.
No, got you. No, that's fair. Any other bad practices that you don't do? Because is that your company, Daybreak and Trucking, right there?
No, so the trucking company I work for is Charlotte Transport. We're a smaller company. We only got 3 trucks on the road. Two of them one of them's blowed up right now. But we have 2 trucks on the road, and we go all over the United States. And my brokerage is Fastback Freight. We're out of Texas. And
What lanes are you usually looking at, so that I can put your links down below, so that if people have questions and things like that, or want to use your services as well.
So I have some our friends of ours that actually own our brokerage is out of Texas. They do a lot of Texas stuff to Illinois, to the Midwest. We're based out of Texas, but I live there in Florida. So we do a lot of stuff from Florida, Massachusetts, Florida, Michigan, South Carolina, out west to Oregon. We do all kind of lanes. We go anywhere. Like I tell people all the time, I'll ship you if you pay us the right amount of money. I don't care what it is. Our job is to bridge the gap between brokers and truckers and trying to make it fair for everybody. And I feel like right now, with the way freight prices are and the times, a lot of people just want to complain and not want to actually see what's going on. Us as brokers, we got expenses too. We have to have insurance and a bond, and our truck stop a month costs more than it costs me on our trucking side to have truck stop to be able to post our loads. We have travel expenses to go talk to these customers. Our time's worth money. I mean, I may call 200 potential customers, and I may have one customer call me that gives me one load out of that month. So I guess let's ask everybody. Post in the comment below. What do you think is fair for a broker to make? What percentage do you think off a load a broker should make? Because really, the overall load price doesn't matter to me at all. I make the same percentage, no matter if it's $40 or $400. That's just the way we run our brokerage. We work long term and see what we can make at the end of the year, and not what we can make off each individual truck driver.
Yeah, no, that's cool. And 10% sounds, extremely fair. I mean, for your business model as well. No, I appreciate that. And then definitely text me the links, and I'll share it, because instead of just exposing bad people all the time, I like to expose the good too, right? And I feel that you're fair just for the fact that you're a truck driver and you do the brokerage side, so you understand on both ends, right? And so you're not this guy that doesn't care and have unrealistic goals for a driver out there, right? Because you're physically in a truck right now. Any For the new ones out there, any signs that are just red flags, when it comes to working with a broker, right? I know a lot of people always say, check, their credit, make sure they're good, make sure, because who cares if you deliver the load if you can't get paid on it, right? And so,
Yeah, that's right. That's right.
what are some signs for the new people that are, jumping on, they're seeing all the commercials, DATs, and all this and that, but they don't know too much about nothing. What are the signs when it's like, hey, I need to step away from this, right? Any thoughts?
I mean, it's just basic communication skills, man. Like, just as I talk to you or anybody else, you can kind of judge somebody's character in the first few minutes of them talking. Um, I mean, I play broker games. I play truckers games on brokers all the time on the trucking side. I'll be honest with you. I'll call a broker, bid something. They'll tell me, they can't pay that amount, and I already know that lane because I'm on the broker side. And man, I'll call back from a different phone number. I'll call my wife and say, hey, call and see if you can get this load for this amount of money because it comes from a different phone number. And that's how you can you can kind of judge the character of that broker when you're on the phone with them. But yeah, credit checks is a must. I don't take any loads if they don't pass a credit check. I know I use OTR Capital for factoring on our trucking side. They have an app. I can enter the MC number. It tells me in a matter of seconds, if they pay their bills or not. And I also, kind of vet the companies on the broker side as well. Are they big enough companies to support the bills? Do I know any brokers they've worked with in the past? But just use common sense, man. If it's wishy-washy, it's not worth taking it. If they call you and change locations, or talk to you about how much money they're not making, if a broker ever tells you, oh man, I'm not making that much money off of it, 90% of the time they're probably lying. They're not selling that load without making some type of money, because I'm not wasting my time. The phone calls, the customer, the paperwork, the invoicing, the stuff that happens after the load delivers. And that's another thing a lot of people don't understand, is that truckers have most of the time have factoring companies. Even if they don't, they could invoice and get paid from the broker within a week or so, because the broker has to keep that A+ rating to even get customers. So on our broker sides, we pay within 2 to 3 days of being invoiced for that load, so our credit stays good. We might not get paid for that load for 30 to 45 days. Sometimes the customers don't even pay the invoice on time, and we're waiting on several $1,000s, or we've waited on hundreds of $1,000s before, that we've already came out of pocket for, to pay those trucking companies, that we haven't got. So when you think about all the stuff on the broker side, is just ask yourself, like, what would you loan me money for? And me tell you I'll pay it back in 2 months. What would it cost you to loan me that money? Would it cost you
Fair.
$50? A lot of truckers think they on that $6,000 load, they should only make $50. They don't see that I'm paying that $6,000 out of pocket for $50 in 2 months. I could go invest in the stock market or elsewhere where I can make a better return on that money, as well as payroll and invoicing and everything else that has to do with the overhead into that. But as far as brokers and whether you can tell they're wishy-washy or
Check the credit.
what's that?
I said, yeah, definitely check the credit. And what app do you use? Again, not sponsored. What are some good apps for, drivers to check a broker's credit to see if they pay their bills on time?
So a lot of times it's your factoring company, man. And I use OTR. I think OTR is a great company for factoring. They have a low percentage rate. They do all your invoicing. They call you with any problems. You get designated to a team over there at OTR. I think they're based out of Georgia. You can, after you've been with them a while and you do a lot of trucking, you kind of negotiate your factoring rate, but they do credit checks for you. You can either call in. I think you press a number there, and somebody comes on. You give them the MC number. They tell you. I just use the OTR app. You can literally just log in. It stays logged in all the time. Type in your MC number, tell you approved or not approved, or tell you to call office. So I would say a lot of times just get with your factoring company. If you're not happy with your factoring company, move on to another one. I know OTR is one of the largest here in the nation on the trucking industry,
Hey,
and
that's some big game, man. That's some big game right there, that we're giving up, to the new guys, right? Because it's like, look, when you're new, I'm not saying if I'm for or against factoring. I say that always just have more tools in your toolbox, right? The game of business and success is about keeping cash flow and being able to leverage. And anyone that doesn't believe me on that, doesn't understand business, right? And
a lot of people are confused about factoring. A lot of people think it's just to get their money. I could care less if we get our money the next day. Factoring take care of all of our invoicing. I literally send them the Raycon uploaded and the BOL. They invoice. They make sure they get the money. We're on non-recourse factoring, so if the people don't pay and they were approved, we still got our money. So a lot of the stuff isn't to get paid the next day. It's not cash flow. It's the time it saves me that I don't have to invoice every customer. Every manufacturer or every broker has a different process. You've got to log in and upload your stuff to that, and every broker's a different site. It takes a lot of time. So we use factoring just because they do all our invoicing. It's worth, I think we pay 2.5%. It's worth 2.5% to me not to have to invoice every day. That takes time out of our day, driving, having to pull over and invoice. And some brokers are, I need to invoice in 24 hours. You get dock money, and it's worth us to do that just so we don't have to invoice, And, the money's nice too,
No, of course, of course. I guess, one of the last questions I have for you is, during these trying times for a lot of truck drivers, I always recommend, always kind of being a chameleon and kind of being able to shift, right? So I've been a bed bugger, moving furniture all my life. And so just say all this ends, all this stops. Hey, that's fine. I'm gonna jump back in the truck and I'll move some furniture, because I already know what type of money I can at least make to provide for my family moving furniture, right? So what I'm getting at is, if people are saying, man, reefer rates are bad right now per se, what lanes do you see of what type of industry niche in the trucking game at, are still playing or still paying pretty good? I keep on hearing Step Deck is still doing really well. Any of your thoughts about that?
I mean, any oversized specialized always does well, whether it's step deck or low boy or, I mean, honestly, I know the rates are low right now, but it's not bad. You got to be willing to work. You can't, you can't want to, and that's a lot of things that people don't understand is on the trucking side is I got to be home every weekend. If you're in the trucking side and have to be home every weekend, you're not going to make the money that you need to make right now with the way the fuel prices are. You have to be willing to go out to work and I may not be back home for another 60 days. That's just what it takes because I choose to stay in trucking. I have to give up sacrifices to keep the trucking company going. But I mean, I'm in flatbed right now, and last week this truck did like 11,400. Week before that, I think we did 10,000. So just use your common sense. I would recommend if you're on the trucking side to break down by the mile what it costs you to run your truck. Add your insurance, your fuel costs, your truck payment, your trailer payment, your percentage that you're putting back for maintenance, and get you a mileage cost. A mileage cost of what it will cost you when the fuel prices change that mileage cost. Because when you know that number that it actually takes you to cost to run per mile, where if you're paying a driver, add that in too. Divide it all per mile what it costs. Then when you go look on the load board, you can know, can you make money at 250 a mile, or do you need to make money at 325 a mile? I see a lot of truckers that look for the biggest paying load on the load board and not taking account what it's going to cost them to get there. If they have two blowouts on the way there, then they didn't make any money. So that I recommend that to everybody. Just get a cost per mile, what it costs you to actually run your truck with fuel, insurance, maintenance, truck payments, trailer payments, driver pay if you're not an owner operator, and know what that number is. And when fuel goes up 50 cents, change your number and only take loads that make sense to you to make money. If you happy making $400 net money after everything else is out, then that's what you're happy with. If you want to make $10,000 a month after everything's paid and your driver's paid, then shoot for that. Only take loads that fit into your scope of work.
That's awesome, man. I guess the last question I have for you, because I know you gotta get back on the road, is it's a lot of work to do one part of the industry, let alone both. So do you yourself recommend others, if they're owner operators, to open up their own brokerage as well?
So yes and no. So brokerage is really hard to get customers. I can tell you, if you're on the road trucking and you're thinking about starting a brokerage, start it while you're on the road, because you're already getting paid to go to all these different manufacturers, and all it takes is handing a business card out. All it takes is, and maybe it's bad practice to do. I don't do this with a lot of brokers. But if I'm taking a load and the customer is on the broker's brokered a load on the shipper side, I'll staple my business card to my paperwork that I'm handing in on the other side, because that's not the broker's customer. And they may call, they may not. You don't have to go in there. I can tell you what not to do. Don't go in there and tell the customer that you can ship their freight cheaper than they last shipped, because you don't know what they last shipped it for, and you don't know where the next one's going. They hear that time and time again. So I would say I would recommend doing it while you're still in the trucking industry. If you're thinking about getting out, going into broker, because you're already going to all these places. You don't have to pay out of pocket to go to all these different customers to gain them. I can tell you it's hard. You'll talk to 200 or 300 people, might only get one or two call you. They may not call back after the first one. So it's hard to do, but and always have somebody in your back office. I use my best friend's wife. She does all of our rate cons. I'll bid the loads with the customers. I'll find the customers. I'll find the truckers that take it. I'll shoot her that information, and she's in the office, and she'll issue the rate con, do the trucker packet to make sure they're approved trucking company as well, and they're reliable to take the loads. And she does that part, because it's really hard if you're trucking and brokering to have to pull over and do all that while you're currently on a load. And it's not fair to the brokers on a load you're on, that you're delaying their load to take care of other business, you know. So if you have someone in the back office, your wife, your girlfriend, a friend of yours, and you're willing to just split that percentage with them of what y'all make together, you can do it fairly easy, and you can make something yourself, you know.
No, that's fair, brother. I think a big part of the industry that is why it's so difficult and why it's always kind of a bad experience. I almost think of it like buying a car, right? I used to be a used car sales guy for Toyota, right? So you as the sales guy, your job is trying to get the most money, right? And then the person buying the car is trying to get it for the least amount. So both people always end up kind of unhappy, right? So it's
Yeah.
almost like the shipper is looking for the cheapest, right? The broker is trying to get his nut or her nut, and the driver's trying to make the most. So the shipper's trying to get it moved for the cheapest, and the driver's trying to get the most out of the load. So it's like it's always this weird, it's not both parties are extremely happy, right? And, and so
Well, yeah, it's just it's lack of transparency, man. There's this big stigma and secret in this industry that brokers don't know, that aren't telling truckers this, and truckers aren't telling this, and customers. Like, we can all be transparent, change this together. I truly believe customers don't care what it costs to ship that product. They really don't. But when they already have sold that product to somebody for a certain amount of money, they can only pay so much. Inflation's real. Like, everything, cost of goods go up, and shipping's part of that. If we all work together, we could change the prices to the customer. The customer's going to pay whatever the industry dictates because they still have to sell their product, or they're going to go out of business. Somebody else is going to pay it. So it's transparency, and I have a YouTube channel, and I don't do much on it. Me and my wife and kids are messing around on it, but I've contemplated for a long time about just making videos and being transparent with everybody to give people a different insight of what happens all the way around. I mean, I talk to customers daily and truckers daily, and I work on a broker side daily, and I've always thought about being transparent, but I could never bring myself to do it because somebody's always complaining about something. And instead of complaining, we can all just work together and figure out a way to change this. It's really easy to change lane rates. It's simple. Don't take the cheap freight for that lane, because now you just dictated what that lane costs for
right.
every broker, for every trucker. And it doesn't take much. It only takes 4 or 5 cheap loads in that lane to dictate to the customer what they should be paying for shipping.
Yeah,
um
I
and so
get
maybe I'll start
that.
that. Maybe I'll start making some videos and being transparent, and maybe
Do
going live
it,
on.
bro. Do it, bro. Here's the thing is, I feel like now tell me if you think I'm right or wrong on this, right? There's no right or wrong, but like a lot of people are under the impression that if it was just had to be confirmed what the hell the actual rate con is, right? So like if the shipper says, "Hey, I'm willing to do it for 6,000," and then the broker or the shipper signs it, and then the broker says, "Hey, I'm gonna need I'm gonna need 10% or whatever from that," and then the driver signs it, and then all three signatures, everyone knows what they're getting. Why is it so difficult to just have a confirmed rate con that everyone gets to see?
It doesn't work that way on my side. Like, I don't have shippers sign raycons uh and then go to truckers and that's not how it works. Typically, a shipper will call me and say, "Hey, I got this load from point A to point B. What can I ship it for?" I'll tell them. I'll send them a bid sheet on it. And most of the stuff I do is multiple loads, so it's not just like one at a time. I don't work much off of these load sheets that shippers ship out with certain prices, because they do that as well. I'll get my email all the time, just load sheets upon load sheets of, "Can you find me a truck for this lane?" And the price is already dictated. You're not bidding on it. And when that's the case, yes, a broker will come back and say, "Well, I can't find it for this." But you also remember those load sheets are going to 30 other brokers. I don't work off any of those. I work off of customers will call me, or they'll have a big project coming up. I'll submit a quote to them, and I'll submit a high quote to them, so I can have room to work with the truckers, because a lot of times these are 2 or 3 months out. I'm bidding these loads 2 or 3 months before these loads are ready to ship, because the manufacturer has to know what it's going to cost them, to know what to charge the customer. And I always put on there, these quotes are good for 30 days, are subject to change with fuel prices. So if it's not the same by the time we go ship, I have wiggle room to wiggle with that customer. But I think I bid pretty well. I hardly ever go back to the customer and say it's going to cost more money, unless it's an emergency load. And I do have customers that say, I need this load shipped tomorrow. And we can't find a truck. And I can say, well, I got a guy that'll take it for this amount of money. And I'm honest with them. Whatever the truck driver tells them in those instances, that's the price to get the shipper. And I won't make anything off of that. Because at the end of the day, I want to be able to support the customer. So
Yeah.
sometimes I don't make any. And other times when I bid a job, I have enough wiggle room in there to be able to give the trucker more money. Because let's be honest, I don't post my top number when I post it, because part of the game that truckers like to do is negotiate. So I already know these truckers are going to negotiate. Hey, can I get 300 more? I've already have that in my bid price to give them that $300 more. I already know that. And so a lot of times I don't have to go back to the customer and add stuff to it. Or
You're giving up game already. You're giving up game already. Whatever you see Daybreak and Trucking puts out on the load, just automatically ask for $300 more.
I'm straight up honest with you. Like no broker posts their top number. You'd be dumb to do it.
That's fair.
I mean, I work on both sides, and knowing that, I know when brokers say, "Oh, I don't have any more in, I'm not making them," I know it's bullshit. They're not wasting their time posting the load, going to do credit checks on the and set up packets on customers, on truck drivers, invoicing later on after the load, making sure they get paid. They're not doing all that for free. So if you get a broker that says,
100%.
"I'm not making nothing," they're probably not a reliable broker.
Agreed.
I'll be honest with anybody. I mean, if you're a truck driver and you book a load and you say how much the load paying, I'm going to tell you. And you can either still take the load from me and not be happy for the amount that I made, or you can get pissed and not take the load. But at the end of the day, you have a company and you know what it costs to run your company. We have a company on the broker side and we know what it costs, and have to take into account of how long we're waiting to get that money back and what amount we need to make. If you don't like it, then don't take it. If you do like it and you take it because you have your own personal reasons, there's value in your personal reasons. Like we talked about, he may just have to go home for his daughter's birthday party. That is a monetary value. You get to put a value to being there for your daughter's birthday party. And so if you decide to take that rate cheaper, there's a value that you have to assess to that I took it cheaper just to get home. So you have to be happy. Once the rate cons are signed, you shouldn't really complain later. You didn't have to take the load. It's not forced. And you'll learn, and maybe I'll do this on my channel as well. There's certain lanes you should stay away from, that the load might be paying really good to get there. It's because you won't get out of there. There's lanes like that all over. So maybe I'll touch that on my YouTube channel.
Yeah, man. We got to get you started on that YouTube. So, all you mother truckers out there, just remember when watching this segment that it sounds like shippers play a lot of games too. They're going out, they're handing out the same thing. Hey, I'm just giving you this load. Tell me what you can do with it, and they say the same damn thing to 8 other people.
Yeah.
And so now 8 other people are trying to scrounge together something, and out of all the 8, maybe all 8 are getting played, right?
Yep.
And so I can see that happening, and it's, the biggest thing is you just can't take any freight that doesn't make sense for you to be profitable. That's just the biggest thing. And I think the more we educate people on what their cost per mile is, what it actually costs to run their truck, and there's more education on that, then I think that's when the industry will change. Because people get in the game, just like you say, they go look on Truck Stop and they see a load paying $9,000, but doesn't see that it's freaking 20 picks and 30 drops, and and they're looking and thinking that's great money, right? And so I think people being misinformed and not being educated on what it really takes to run a business, because people could unsubscribe to me now, but there's a lot of truck drivers out there that are amazing truck drivers, but not amazing business owners. I hate to say that.
Well, maybe they need a little help and a little guidance that they haven't got from anybody before,
because I see that all the time. I've asked so many drivers, how long you been trucking? 25 years. I could back up. I've been backing up longer than you've been going forward, Alex. I go, yes, sir. I appreciate that. How much money do you have saved up? Well, my truck is paid off. How much money do you have saved up? Nothing. And it's, so I need to talk more on this channel about financial literacy. And that's no disrespect to anyone out there. But I think that's a big issue in this game is people are going out and getting their CDL, but financial literacy isn't a part of that game because it's almost like being a ball player. You came out from like myself working at Walgreens making $13 an hour. Now you grossed 300,000 for the year, and now you're telling everybody and their mama that you made 300,000 this year. Well, you didn't.
Yeah. Yeah. What'd you net?
you know,
What'd you
so
spend?
exactly. So I think this is all great information, brother. And I appreciate your honesty. People, throw your comments down below. But again, this is what you see here is a good broker, one that will actually tell you, be transparent with you, and that's it. Why? And I'll honestly think this is, I almost think, and this is just maybe me personally, I almost think that you shouldn't be allowed to be a broker unless you've been a trucker.
Yeah, I mean, yeah. You got to understand both industries. I mean, a lot of people don't understand that it's not just mileage pay. Like you talked about those 20 picks and 20 drops. There's a value in the time that you're sitting at shippers, which turns into a day pay. And a lot of truckers just go for that big amount and think that, oh, it's $9,000, but you're not taking into account that it's going to take you 4 days to drop 20 drops, if not longer. So now you made 9 grand in 2 weeks, and that's all you made. And so there's two different sides of trucking. You got to know you're either running for mileage and you're running one load long distance, or you're taking shorter loads, which, let's be honest, it's hard to pick and drop and redrop in the same day. It's hard to get that done with just the way you're waiting at shippers now. So then you got to bid for what your time's worth that day. You may not have a lot in fuel, but what is your day worth? So there's several different ways to look at your trucking company and how you're going to turn around and make money. But I honestly think we all just need to work together. I don't see a point in hiding anything on the broker side, because if it costs you $3 a mile to run your truck, it might cost homeboy $1 to run a mile on the truck. It doesn't matter if I give my secrets away. I'm going to find somebody that load works for.
Exactly. And there's a different value as well, because I got friends with large cars, and they're always able to find good loads. You know what I
Yeah.
mean? And because there's certain shippers out there that it's a quality, expensive, and there's so much behind it that having that $500,000 truck come to their warehouse, all this and that, there's value to that. Now, it takes time and it takes connection and communication to get that, but I don't know. I think we got a lot today. Definitely, you're always welcome back on the show, brother. Was there anything else that you want that you had in your mind? Because I know when you messaged me this morning, there's been a lot of thoughts, and I apologize about that too, because I'm passionate about the people that suck in this industry, but then sometimes people just, I think that I think everybody sucks, and that's not the truth.
No, it's not you. I think a lot of truckers want to blame the broker instead of really blaming themselves. And I hate to say it, I'm a trucker too, and I support truckers, but don't blame somebody else for a load that you took that you didn't get paid enough for. You're the person that decided to take it. Don't work for that broker. If those brokers that are selling the cheap freight and screwing people over aren't selling loads, they're not going to be a broker long. They're not going to be able to afford their bills. You can push them out. The truckers are the person who dictates the industry, dictates the lanes, dictates what the brokers tell the customers, dictates what lanes go where manufacturers build their facilities. It's all the truckers dictate it all. They dictate everything in the industry, and right now I feel like they don't believe they do, but they really do. And it's just what truckers do dictates different lanes and dictates the cheaper prices, because you had some truckers doing this and some truckers doing that. But at the end of the day, and we're never all band together. I mean, I hear it every year. Let's all shut down trucking. It's going to make the prices go up. Nobody does it, and it doesn't really make sense to do it. That's not the way to change the industry. Is shutting the trucking down and hoping that the shippers will pay more money, because for every 10 trucks that shut down, you'll have 20 trucks that are like, screw you, I got to feed my kids. So that's not the way to go about it. The way to go about it is use your head. Don't take anything for what you can't make money off of, and it will fizzle out. Those loads that are super cheap, those brokers won't be able to take them. The customers will go with somebody else, and eventually the value in getting those products moved will be more than worth it to those customers than trying to find that cheap rate and those trucks not showing up on time and then not be able to get a load moved when it needs. Eventually that'll happen. We just all got to work together. So I'll help out and share any knowledge I know, and I learn stuff daily. I think you're never too old or too wise to keep learning this industry. It changes all the time.
No, I appreciate that. I'm already thinking of the title of this. Broker exposes all and blames the truckers. No, I don't.
Hey man, look, put whatever clickbait you need to put. The the goal to this is to get the information out there, and I'll try. I only have like 200 something subscribers on YouTube. I'll try to post some videos daily. I didn't see a point before because I don't have a lot of subscribers. I was big on TikTok at one time and had hundreds of thousands of subscribers, and I kind of shied away against that. But we still have a YouTube channel, me and my wife, and maybe I'll put some videos out there if some of y'all are wanting to learn both sides, or we'll just be transparent together. And what I do may not work for another broker, may not work for another trucker. I can only tell you what works for our companies. I can't tell you what's going to work for your company. I can help you out, and I can get you what it costs you to run a mile, and I can tell you what not to do if you share that information with me. But I mean, everybody's individual. I mean, everybody's company's different.
Yeah, no, and you know what? And to the audience out here that definitely listen to the end, I get the same message all the time. Alex, what's up with the craziest titles? And I go, you know what? Because I truly believe you need to watch these videos. Like, you know what I mean? Like, you need to watch these videos because not that you might learn something, but we might just all get a aha moment together, right? And so I'm telling you, like, this
I
video
mean,
right
that's
here
what
is
got us
extremely
connected
valuable.
today was the title of your video. That's exactly what made me reach out to even talk about this was the title of your video. You did about the brokers and then keeping all the money and scamming, and that's exactly what made us have this conversation. I opened up this dialogue to now that other people can see both sides.
No, I love it. I love it, man. No, I appreciate you for being on the show. I know you got to get back on the road too, man, because, I value your information because I respect you as a truck driver and I see you in your truck and just giving up the game on both sides. So it's just one of those things, man, where definitely I'll put your links down below and hopefully, and this is what that comes out to, people. Look, all you brokers out there, all you truck drivers out there, everybody, when you're more transparent and you're just trying to help people, I'm telling you, the game is not about making money today. The game is about longevity.
Yes.
And if you don't understand what I'm talking about right now, then you shouldn't be doing whatever the heck you think you're doing because sustaining business is longer than getting to the top. I'll tell you that right now. And so it's just not worth it, people. So, if you want to jump on the show, mothertruckernews@gmail.com. You want to say my man Daybreak and Trucking is a POS and full of it. He would never do that. Then you know what? Say what you feel because opinions are always welcome. But just take what you can from it. That's all it is. And I'll put the clips up, brother. Send me your links. And I appreciate you for being on the show, man. It was very enlightening conversation, man. I think I'm gonna do more long form stuff like this. I don't know. Everybody says they like really short and sweet, but what are your thoughts, bro?
Man, I like your longer videos, man. Do I like short and sweet when I'm taking a 30-minute break? Yeah, but knowledge is power, and I like hearing the different people that you have on your longer videos. And when I lay down to go to sleep at night in the cab, I like to watch the longer videos, and sometimes I fall asleep to them. I don't watch you all the time. I talk to my wife and stuff too, but I enjoy the knowledge, and sometimes you can't get that out in 10 to 15 minutes. Sometimes it takes a dialogue before the person giving the knowledge realizes something else and shares a little bit more. So sometimes it takes a little bit longer. So I enjoy them.
Hey, I appreciate you, man. Wish you the best for you and your family. And definitely, brother, we'll talk soon.
Yeah, thanks for having me, man. Y'all stay cool.
Yes, sir.